Welcome back, children. The fire has been banked, but its heart is still warm, much like the story we left hanging in the air. Last we saw, Amina stood alone beneath the great fig tree, dancing her soul out to the ancestors. She was a seed planted in the earth of the spirit world. Now, we will see if that seed will sprout. We will witness the power of the ancestors and learn the price of their wisdom. For the spirits do not give without demanding something in return. Let us listen. Amina danced until the stars wheeled overhead and the moon began its slow descent. Her body moved not by her own will, but by a force that was pulling her, guiding her limbs. As her feet traced their patterns in the cool, damp earth beneath the fig tree, a change occurred. The air, already thick, grew heavier. The silence was broken by a sound so faint she almost missed it, a whisper, like wind through dry grass, but it came from beneath her, from the roots themselves. She comes. The whisper sighed. The child of the river remembers us. Amina's heart leaped, but she did not stop. She danced on, her movements becoming more fluid, more powerful. A second whisper joined the first, then a third, until a chorus of voices, ancient and full of the weight of ages, rustled through the roots and vines. The earth itself began to hum under her soles, a deep, resonant vibration that she felt not just in her feet, but in her very bones. It was the heartbeat of the ancestors, pulsing up through the soil. She was no longer alone. The elders say, when the living call with a pure heart, the dead will pull aside the curtain to listen. Amina's call was pure, born of pain, but not of poison, and the ancestors were listening. As the humming grew stronger, the air before Amina began to shimmer. It started as a faint glow, like the first light of dawn, but it came from the roots of the fig tree. The glow coalesced, taking shape. Figures rose from the earth, formed of mist and moonlight. They were not solid, but their forms were unmistakable. Men and women, tall and proud, dressed in the skins and cloths of ages past. Some carried spears, others held children, others simply stood with their arms crossed, watching. Their eyes were points of ancient light, and they were all fixed on Amina. She finally stopped dancing, her body trembling with exhaustion and awe. She fell to her knees, bowing her head. Grandmothers, grandfathers, she whispered, her voice choked. I am Amina, daughter of Grace, granddaughter of 80, of the village Takumi. I am lost. They have broken my shells, stolen my mask, and driven me from my home. I come to you not for vengeance, but for guidance. I do not know the way. The misty figures swayed, communicating with each other in a language that was not spoken but felt. One figure, a woman with a kind face and eyes that held the wisdom of 1,000 harvests, stepped forward. She was the one from Grace's dream. The misty woman knelt before Amina, and though she was not solid, Amina felt a warmth radiate from her, a feeling of profound love and protection. We have watched you, child, the ancestor said, her voice like the murmur of the river. We saw you fall, and we have waited for you to rise and seek the root. You have done well to come here, and to dance not with curses, but with remembrance. She gestured to the other ancestors. We are the ones who cleared this land, who planted the first yams, who sang the first songs. Your pain is our pain, for you carry our blood. Amina looked up, tears streaming down her face. They took my grandmother's mask, she said. They made the people fear me. How can I go back? How can I make them see the truth? The first mother smiled, a sad and knowing smile. You cannot make anyone see, child. You can only show them. The truth is not a rock to throw, but a seed to plant. It must be nurtured. But to plant it, you must first understand the dance that is to come. It is not the dance of innocence you danced before. It is a dance of a different kind. She spoke the ancient truth. There is a dance for joy, and a dance for sorrow, and a dance for calling the rain. But there is also a dance for revealing what hides in the dark. The first mother rose and began to move. Her misty form flowed with a terrifying grace. Her movements were not beautiful in the way Amina's were. They were sharp, precise, like the strikes of a snake or the pouncing of a leopard. With each gesture, the air around her seemed to ripple. This, she said, is the dance of unmasking. It is not a dance to be used lightly. It is a dance that calls forth the hidden things, the lies men carry in their hearts, the debts they have buried, the faces of those they have wronged. It pulls the truth from the shadows and forces it to walk in the sun. Amina watched, mesmerized and a little afraid. "Will it hurt them?" she asked, thinking of the chief, of Jacob. The first mother stopped. "It will strip them bare," she said. "It will reveal them to themselves and to the world. That is often a pain worse than any wound. But the dance itself does not judge. It only reveals. What the village does with that truth, that is their burden and their chance for healing." She looked intently at Amina. "You must learn it. But know this, a dancer who performs this dance must have a heart free of personal vengeance. If your heart is poisoned by hate, the dance will poison the village. You must dance to heal or not dance at all." For many days and nights, Amina stayed beneath the fig tree. The ancestors became her teachers. They taught her the subtle movements, the way a flick of the wrist could unravel a secret, how a particular turn of the foot could unearth a buried memory. They taught her to listen not with her ears, but with her whole body, to feel the lies that clung to a person like a bad smell, and to call them forth. It was the hardest thing she had ever learned. It required a discipline far greater than the joyful dances of her childhood. One evening, as she practiced, she stumbled, frustration welling up inside her. A thought of Chief David flashed through her mind, hot and angry. For a moment, her movements became sharp with that anger. The air around her crackled, and the faces of the ancestors flickered with unease. The first mother immediately appeared before her. "Stop," she commanded. "Do you feel what you just did? You let hate guide your hand." The dance became a weapon, not a tool. Your heart must be as still as the deep river, even as your body reveals the storms of others. "A healer who cuts with anger will only cause a deeper wound," she warned. Amina bowed her head, ashamed, and vowed to cleanse her heart of all bitterness before she would attempt the dance again. As Amina's skill grew, so did the assembly of ancestors. They came from all directions, drawn by the power of the dance being learned beneath their tree. Warriors who had died in ancient battles, mothers who had borne the nation, healers who knew the secrets of every leaf. They all came to watch this living child who sought their deepest knowledge. They did not just teach her the dance, they taught her about justice. One old warrior, his misty form still bearing the scars of his final fight, spoke to her. "Revenge is a fire that burns the one who holds it," he rumbled. "It feels warm at first, but it will consume you. Justice is different. Justice is a river. It finds its own level. It washes clean. It does not destroy, it restores balance." Another ancestor, a woman who had been a midwife, added, "When you return, child, do not seek to break the chief. Seek to break the power of his lies. Show the people what he has hidden. The truth will be his judgment and the people's healing. Your dance is the key, but the people themselves must choose to unlock the door." Amina listened to them all, her understanding deepening with each passing day. She was no longer just a dancer. She was becoming a vessel for the wisdom of ages, a bridge between the world of the living and the world of the spirits. On the morning of the day she was to leave, the ancestors gave her a gift. The first mother approached her, holding something that shimmered in the dim light beneath the figure. It was a string of shells, but not the common cowries she had worn before. These were ancient shells, their surfaces worn smooth by time, each one glowing with a soft, internal light. "These are the tears of the ancestors," the first mother said, placing them around Amina's neck. "Tears shed for the pain of our children. They will give you strength and remind you that you do not dance alone. They will also help you see the truth more clearly, for they are attuned to sorrow and to lies." Around her wrists and ankles, other spirits fastened similar strings, until she was adorned with the light of 100 generations. They did not give her a new mask. "Your face is your mask now," they told her. "Let the people see your eyes, your sorrow, your strength. That will be more powerful than any carved wood." Amina touched the glowing shells, feeling their warmth seep into her skin. She was no longer the broken girl who had collapsed at the base of the tree. She was a daughter of the ancestors, clothed in their light and armed with their truth. It is said, when the ancestors clothe you, no human hand can strip you bare. Amina left the sacred fig tree as the sun began its climb into the sky. The journey back to Takumi felt different from her desperate flight. Her steps were sure, her heart calm. The glowing shells around her neck and limbs were a comfort, a constant reminder of the spirit court that walked with her. The savanna, once a place of terror, now felt like a familiar path. The animals she saw, a family of warthogs, a graceful kudu, did not startle her, and she felt they, too, recognized the power she now carried. She walked for 2 days, stopping to rest under the shade of acacia trees, drinking from clear streams. On the second night, she camped under a sky so full of stars it seemed to spill light onto the earth. She thought of her parents, of their grief. She thought of the villagers who had once loved her, now turned against her by fear. She thought of the chief and his advisor, sitting in their stolen comfort. A flicker of the old anger surfaced, but she quelled it with a deep breath, remembering the ancestors' warning. Her purpose was not to punish, but to reveal. She was a dancer, not a warrior. Her weapon was truth, and her shield was the love of the ancestors. The journey back is always harder than the journey away, for you must carry the weight of what you have learned. Amina crested the last hill overlooking Takumi as the first light of dawn painted the sky in shades of orange and gold. The village looked the same, the cluster of round huts, the winding path to the river, the great baobab in the center of the square. Smoke was beginning to curl from cooking fires. She could hear the faint sound of a mortar and pestle as women pounded millet. It was a scene of such simple, profound peace, and yet she knew the rot that lay beneath. For a moment, doubt crept in. Would they even listen? Would they stone her again? She touched the shells at her neck, and their warmth steadied her. She saw a figure walking towards the river. It was her mother, Grace, walking with the slow, heavy steps of someone carrying a great sorrow. Amina's heart clenched. She wanted to run to her, to hold her, but she knew she could not. Not yet. The dance had to come first. It had to be done in the full light of day, in the center of the village, for all to see. She waited, watching her mother's distant form, gathering her strength for the trial ahead. Dawn brings truth as surely as dusk brings dreams, the ancestors had said. This dawn would bring a truth Takumi would never forget. As the sun rose higher and the village square began to fill with people going about their daily business, Amina walked down the path and into Takumi. At first, no one noticed her. Then, a child pointed. A woman stopped grinding her millet, her mouth falling open. A man carrying a bundle of firewood dropped it with a clatter. A murmur rippled through the square like wind over water. "It's her, the dancer, she's back." The murmur grew into a low, hostile hum. Amina walked to the center of the square, to the very spot where she had danced at the festival of the new yams. She wore a simple, undyed cloth wrapped around her waist. Her feet were bare. Around her neck was a single pitiful-looking string of broken ordinary shells, not the glowing ones the ancestors had given her, for those she had hidden beneath her cloth. The crowd gathered around her, a tightening circle of wary, frightened faces. Some of the children, who had thrown stones, now hid behind their mother's legs. The jeering began. "Look at her," a man shouted. "She comes back with ragged beads like a beggar." "Witch," another voice cried. "You are not welcome here." They laughed, a cruel, mocking sound, trying to cover their own fear with noise. They saw a broken girl, and their laughter was a shield against the possibility that they had been wrong. The commotion reached the chief's compound. Chief David emerged onto his veranda, Jacob at his side. A slow, satisfied smile spread across the chief's face when he saw Amina standing alone in the square, surrounded by a jeering mob. "She has returned," he said to Jacob, his voice dripping with contempt. "Like a moth to a flame. She must be desperate or a fool." Jacob laughed. "She is nothing now, Chief. Look at her. No mask, no finery, just a girl with some broken shells. The people have already judged her. This will be easy." They watched as the crowd grew bolder, their taunts louder. The chief felt a surge of power. He had won. He had broken the dancer, And now she was here to be publicly humiliated, to finally erase any last shred of memory the people might have of her glory. He decided to let the spectacle play out. He would wait until the crowd's anger peaked. Then he would step forward and banish her again, this time forever, cementing his authority in the eyes of all. He leaned against a post, a king watching a circus, completely confident that the story was already finished. He did not see the quiet focus in Amina's eyes. He did not feel the subtle shift in the air. A chief who watches with pride is blind to the ground beneath his feet, the ancestors whispered on the wind. Amidst the jeers and the laughter, Amina closed her eyes. She shut out the noise, the hostile faces, the memory of the stones. She focused on the feeling of the earth beneath her feet. She thought of the ancestors beneath the fig tree. She felt the hidden shells, the ones that held their light, warm against her skin. And then she took a single step. It was a small step, barely a movement, but it was the first step of the dance of unmasking. The moment her foot touched the earth, a hush fell over the front rank of the crowd. It was as if a cool hand had been placed on their heated anger. She took another step and another, her body beginning to move in the slow, precise patterns she had learned. Her hands began to rise and fall, not in graceful sweeps, but in deliberate gestures, each one a question posed to the air, a key searching for a lock. The laughter faltered. The jeers died in throats. The crowd grew still not out of respect, but out of a strange, unsettling fascination. Something was happening. The air in the square was changing. It grew thick, heavy, charged with an unseen energy. Amina's dance had begun, and it was nothing like they had ever seen. A wise man knows. When the dancer stops performing and starts summoning, the wise man watches a shadow. As Amina danced, her movements became more focused. She turned towards a man in the crowd, a respected elder named Mensa, who had always been a friend to the chief. With a flick of her wrist, a small, dark object seemed to fall from the folds of his robe and clatter onto the ground. It was a coin pouch. Mensa gasped and scrambled for it, but it was too late. An old woman near him cried out, "That pouch. That is the pouch my husband lost the day he died. It has his mark on it." Mensa's face went pale. He stammered, but no words came. Amina did not stop. She turned to another man, a trader who had grown wealthy under the chief's favor. As her hands traced a pattern in the air, a folded piece of parchment seemed to detach itself from his belt and flutter to the ground. A young man snatched it up and read it aloud. It was a letter to the chief, detailing how the trader had cheated families out of their land, promising them a share of future profits that never came. The trader's face crumpled. The crowd gasped. One by one, hidden things were being revealed. A lie told by a woman to her neighbor about a borrowed pot. A debt a young man had never repaid. The secrets, large and small, were rising like bubbles from the bottom of a muddy pond. The dance was unstitching the fabric of their hidden lives. The crowd was no longer jeering. They were watching in stunned, horrified silence, many of them clutching their own robes, their own belongings, terrified of what might fall from them next. But Amina's dance was not random. It was moving with purpose, circling closer to the heart of the poison. Her gaze fell upon the chief's closest men, the ones who had broken her mask, the ones who had dragged her from her home. They stood near the chief's compound, their faces masks of defiance, but their eyes betrayed a flicker of fear. Amina's steps became sharper, more insistent. She danced toward them, her hands weaving a complex pattern. One of the men, a brute named Kwame, suddenly clutched his head and staggered. "I remember," he cried out, his voice a tortured wail. "I remember the old woman, the one whose granary we burned." The chief said it was an accident, but it was not. He ordered it because she would not sell him her land. Another of the men fell to his knees, sobbing. The promises. The chief promised us cattle, land, if we would lie about the dancer. We knew she was no witch. We knew. The confessions tumbled out, raw and unstoppable, as Amina's dance pulled the memories from the depths of their souls. The power of the ancestors was stripping them bare, unstitching the promises they had made to their chief and their own consciences. From his veranda, Chief David watched in growing horror. The confident smile was gone, replaced by a mask of shock and disbelief. His men, his loyal men, were crumbling like dry earth in a rainstorm. The secrets he had so carefully buried were being exhumed by the movements of a girl with broken shells. "Stop her," he screamed, his voice cracking with panic. "Seize her. She is casting a spell. Can you not see?" But no one moved to obey him. The crowd was transfixed, their attention wholly on Amina. Some were now weeping, for their own secrets were rising in their throats, choking them with guilt. Jacob, the oily advisor, was trying to slither away, to disappear into the crowd. But Amina's dance caught him. She turned, and a simple gesture of her hand seemed to pin him to the spot. From his belt, a small, carved figurine dropped, a fetish object he had planted near the dead goat to make it look like a curse. A woman screamed, "That is the thing I found by my sick child." Jacob's lies, so carefully woven, were now a naked, ugly truth for all to see. The chief stood alone on his veranda, his voice a hoarse, useless echo in the wind. The dance had reached him. The circle was closing. When the voice of power cracks, it is often the earth that is about to speak. And the earth, through the feet of the noble dancer, was about to have its say. The lies are crumbling, children. The chief stands exposed, his men weeping in the dust. But Amina's dance is not finished. What will happen when she reaches the part of the dance that belongs to the grandmothers? Will the ancestors themselves step into the square? And what of the chief? Will he fall or will he fight? The truth is rising like the river in flood. Gather close for episode 3, and we will see if the village can be washed clean, or if it will drown in the truth it tried to bury.